From the dawn of time, countless universes have been forged by the hands of the Absolute Ones. Seeking eternity, they devoted themselves to endless creation, bringing countless forms of matter, souls, and the very laws of existence into being. Yet even eternity could not satisfy them. Over time, the Absolute Ones grew weary of endless creation. Desperate to escape the boredom of immortality, they devised a new form of entertainment: war. They took great pleasure in watching their own creations tear each other apart. Their creations were trapped in a merciless cycle, fighting an endless war, dying on the battlefield, only to be reborn and forced to fight once again. Their suffering, their sacrifice, existed for one purpose alone: to relieve the eternal boredom of their creators. But then, something happened. While watching yet another endless war unfold, one of the Absolute Ones was slain by one of its own creations. The news spread across every realm. Upon learning of the unimaginable event, the Absolute Ones gathered to witness the world that had lost its master. One of their own had fallen, killed by the very beings it had created. The irony was completely lost on the remaining Absolute Ones. Instead, they were united by a single belief: the power that has lost its master shall belong to whoever claims it first. The story then shifts to a high school in Korea, where we meet our protagonist, Sung Suho. The day everyone has been waiting for has finally arrived. The college entrance results are out. Against all expectations, Suho has been accepted into the Korea University of Arts, leaving his classmates completely stunned. One of his friends blurts out, "How did an uncultured guy like you manage to pass the entrance exam for an art school?" Another sighs in disappointment. "I failed every single one of mine." Meanwhile, Suho throws his hands into the air and bursts into laughter. "Wahaha! I'm finally free from this hell." Just then, a student approaches him. It's Lee Unchul. Smiling sarcastically, he says, "Congratulations, Sung Suho. So you got into art school? I didn't realize you had that kind of talent. Since when did you even know how to draw?" Without even looking impressed, Suho replies, "What is it now? Kim Sung-chul." Immediately irritated, the boy snaps back, "It's not Kim Sung-chul. My name is Lee Unchul. If it weren't for you, I would have taken over this entire school." Suho casually shrugs. Yeah, and if it weren't for me, you probably wouldn't have graduated." As the two continue bickering, the girls nearby can't help but whisper among themselves, "Graduation is just around the corner. Does he really have to act like a child until the very end?" Another quietly adds, "Why does he keep picking on Suho? He's been doing his best to stay positive ever since his parents disappeared." Unable to control his anger any longer, Unchul suddenly throws a punch at Suho, but before the attack can connect, Suho effortlessly raises his knee, smashing it straight into Unchul's face. Suho lets out an annoyed sigh. "Can't you just calm down until graduation?" Instead of backing off, Unchul starts laughing. He mocks Suho's weak attack before wrapping his fist in mana. In an instant, he launches a far more powerful punch. Suho narrowly dodges it, his eyes widening in surprise. That wasn't an ordinary punch. He used mana. Yunchul smirks with obvious arrogance. Looking down on Suho, he dismisses him as nothing more than a weak nobody. 3 years pass. Suho is now a tall, handsome sophomore in college. As he's walking through the city, he notices a gate that has suddenly appeared in the middle of the street. Police officers are struggling to keep the growing crowd under control, while curious onlookers eagerly record everything on their phones. To them, it's a once-in-a-lifetime spectacle. And honestly, it is. Thanks to the Shadow Monarch Sung Jin-woo, gates had disappeared from the world for a very long time. Their sudden return has left everyone both shocked and terrified. Nearby, a man in a suit questions one of the officers. "How long has it been since the hunters entered the gate?" The officer checks his watch before replying, "Over 8 hours, sir." The suited man frowns. "It's only a D-rank gate. They should have come back by now." Meanwhile, the officers continue pushing civilians farther away. "Everyone who's not a hunter, please step back. This area isn't safe." Watching the scene unfold, Suho lets out a quiet sigh. Another gate. 3 years have passed since gates began appearing all over the world. Since then, nothing has ever been the same. Gates are portals that lead to dangerous dungeons. If a gate isn't cleared before its time limit expires, the monsters inside spill into the real world, turning entire cities into battlefields. Fortunately, humanity evolved to meet this new threat. People capable of wielding magic began to awaken. These individuals became known as the Awakened. The sudden appearance of gates and awakened beings threw the entire world into chaos. But one man changed everything. Wu Jinchul founded the Hunter Association, officially recognizing hunters as a profession and restoring order to the world far faster than anyone thought possible. From that moment on, humanity became divided into two groups, the awakened and ordinary civilians. Some people are forced to fight for every opportunity they get, while others are simply born with extraordinary power. In this world, ordinary people are constantly reminded of their limits. No matter how hard a non-awakened person trains, they'll never be stronger than even the weakest E-rank hunter. If hunters ever stopped clearing the gates, human civilization would come to an end. In other words, ordinary people can't survive without hunters, but hunters don't need ordinary people to survive. That's why everyone respects them. Thanks to their sacrifices, a powerless person like me can still live a peaceful life. But that peaceful life comes with its own burdens. The fear of accepting your own weakness, the fear of giving up on dreams you can never reach. My parents disappeared. I can no longer survive on my own without relying on others. The days when I truly believed I could accomplish anything, they're gone. And in their place, there's nothing but a crushing sense of helplessness. Mom always used to tell me, "You remind me so much of your father. I wonder, what would he have done if he were in my place?" Lost in his thoughts, Suho keeps replaying everything that's happened in his life. Until Sung Suho, his art professor's voice suddenly snaps him back to reality. The entire classroom turns to look at him. The professor raises an eyebrow. "Are you still with us, Suho?" Embarrassed, Suho quickly sits up straight. Yes, Professor." The professor walks over to his desk and glances down at his sketchbook. "Let's see, what have you been drawing?" Suho scratches the back of his head. I was just doodling, nothing serious." The professor studies the drawing for a moment before tilting his head in confusion. "Is this an ant?" He squints a little closer. "Or is it some kind of ant-man?" Suho stares at the sketch in disbelief. "Why, was I drawing something like this?" Outside the D-rank gate, the hunters who entered earlier finally return. The crowd immediately erupts into cheers. "They look like they're in good shape. I guess the mission was a success." The lead hunter, Kim Jong-soo, steps forward and addresses the officials. "The dungeon has been successfully cleared. However, I have some important information that needs to be reported to the association." The officer looks surprised. "What happened?" Kim Jong-soo takes a serious expression. "We encountered a new species of monster." The crowd grows silent as he continues. "It was a humanoid-type monster, with blue flames coming from its eyes and mouth. They attacked us with their fangs and claws, but they weren't strong enough to cause serious damage." He looks at the small wound on his arm. "I only suffered a light scratch, and it seems to be fine. So I doubt the creature was particularly powerful." The officer looks concerned. "That certainly doesn't sound like any monster we've encountered before." He sighs in relief. "Thankfully, it doesn't seem like they were very dangerous." The officer then hands him a document. "Hunter Kim Jong-soo, could you please fill out this simple report regarding the events of the mission?" But before Kim Jong-soo can respond, something changes. His body suddenly freezes. A strange blue flame begins burning inside his eyes. Then, his expression turns completely empty. In an instant, he grabs the officer beside him and kills him. The peaceful crowd falls silent. Everyone stares in horror. What just happened? The other hunters immediately recognize that terrifying blue flame. It was the same thing they saw inside the dungeon. Before anyone can react, the remaining hunters begin showing the same symptoms. One after another, they become possessed. The hunters who had just returned as heroes suddenly start attacking everyone around them. Panic spreads through the crowd. People scream, people run. The peaceful street transforms into complete chaos. Meanwhile, inside the classroom, Suho is completely unaware of the disaster happening outside. He's still staring at his drawing of the strange ant. Then suddenly, the sound of screaming reaches the classroom. Students rush toward the window to see what is happening. "What's going on? What was that?" But the moment they look outside, their expressions change. They see people attacking each other in the streets. Are those people attacking each other? There's some kind of blue light monster. One student panics. Is this a dungeon break? Another quickly shakes his head. No, it can't be. Hunters already cleared the gate? The students begin arguing. Some want to escape immediately. Others believe they should stay and wait for the hunters to handle it. Then someone remembers their classmate who is an E-rank awakened. You're a hunter, right? Do something. But the E-rank hunter freezes. His body trembles in fear. Even he knows this situation is beyond him. While everyone is distracted arguing, a possessed hunter notices the classroom. With terrifying speed, it leaps toward the building. Boom! The hunter crashes straight through the classroom window. Everyone screams. Suho immediately stands up. Everyone, run! The students flee as fast as they can. But in every disaster, someone always gets left behind. A girl falls to the ground, unable to move. Her legs are trapped beneath the broken debris. Help me! The others continue running. For a moment, Suho hesitates. Then he looks back. You're really just going to leave her there to die? He says those words to himself. And suddenly, he remembers his father. What would Dad do in this situation? The possessed hunter slowly approaches the terrified girl. Step by step, its claws get closer. The girl closes her eyes in fear. Then, bang! Out of nowhere, Suho appears. He grabs a fire extinguisher and slams it directly into the monster's face. For the first time in years, Suho acts without hesitation. And at that exact moment, something appears before his eyes. A familiar blue screen, a system message. You have fulfilled all requirements for the secret quest, Courage of the Weak.